Good morning. There we go. The screen lightened up a little bit. I do things by candlelight, so I get a weird glare from the different windows here in my house. So I kind of found a compromise. It's a little dark, but you know, whatever. So it is the 7th of June. It's a Thursday. I'm this a little early today because I've got to go and I have to go to the cannabis clinic once a year. I go and I see the doctor there and get my card renewed. It's what keeps me in clinical remission from rheumatoid arthritis. I had a really severe form of it and I was real sick. For 13 years, it got real aggressive, and I had it before that, but it was mild, and so it was undiagnosed. But when I finally got diagnosed, you know, it was really bad, and nothing they did helped. Nothing. Not the Enbrel, not the Humira, not any of that stuff for whatever reason. You know, it does help some people, I know, but it just didn't help me. And so I stayed severe for all those years, and I became a cannabis patient and healed. I got on cannabis. I did after we grew and I made my medicines. 2.5 months, I decided on a regimen. You know, I was going to do this and this and this like you would with any other medication. And I made a plan and I stuck to it. And 2.5 months later, I was in clinical remission, something the doctors couldn't do. So, hey. Cannabis is both legal recreationally and medically here in Oregon. It started out, I guess, in '98 is when we got the medical. And then I think it was 2014 that we voted in the recreational. So it's nice, you know. Now, if the feds would just catch up, stop lying to everybody about cannabis. It's not true. It's safe for both recreational and medicinal use. So I don't know why people gotta lie. I guess, well, it was money. That's what it was. So we'll shuffle one more time and count 13. And 13. Oh, well, this can be interpreted a variety of ways. 5 of Swords. So it's going to be our intellectual presence again today. The guy's looking around, and I'm going to get my magnifying glass. A lot of tarot readers use magnifying glasses. I do. Mine has a light. My husband found this for me. Yeah, he's the sky is all sketchy, just like this guy is. He's almost like a he almost looks like Loki. But you've got one gentleman who is, I mean, they're obviously just fresh from battle. They're out here against the backdrop of a large body of water. The swords are 2 of them are on the ground. He's holding 2. He's in one hand. He's got one in another. He's picking up the swords. He's looking there. He's smiling, which is odd because the other guy seems like he's covered in blood. And then the other one's holding his head in sorrow. So either this guy is trying to, you know, it's just a frenetic situation. I mean, even the clouds in the sky are sketchy. You know, look at that. They're brown and they're just not, you know, you can see, and look at the guy's face who's holding the swords. He almost looks gleeful, like he's getting away with something. You know, clearly things aren't really what we thought they were. You know, 5 is about change, and maybe things just aren't what they seem. So let's take a look at the little grimoire here and make sure there's nothing else here that but that's my initial impression. Whenever I see this card, it's like, oh my goodness. You know, yeah, I mean, defeat, loss, blame, slander, there's been some kind of I mean, here you can look at this as a communication breakdown. You can look at it as judgment or illusion gone mad. I mean, this is just, but to me, what really shows it is the guy's face, and his hair is going back very similar to those sketchy clouds. There's a synchronicity there. So it's illusion. Clouds mean illusion, and a lot of the time, and so something's going on here that's just not right. People are. I've taken their eyes off of what this guy's doing. Nobody's paying attention. They're worn out. Maybe we're just intellectually or emotionally spent. You know. Well, let's take a look at the rune and see what it says. Turn off my light on my magnifying glass. I love that thing, especially if I don't have the larger versions of cards, because sometimes those are hard for me to shuffle. My hands aren't in the greatest of shape. Even though I'm in remission, I still have a lot of damage from those years of being so ill. So I don't have, I have the quintessential middle knuckle there. Well, actually, a guy shook my hand at a business we owned. He shook my hand. He was not happy with me. He was leaving. I couldn't help him. I couldn't make what another business was doing to him stop. So, I can do that, And it's not my business. So I felt sorry for him, and I tried, but there was nothing I could really do. And so he was angry, and he shook my hand as he left. And he squeezed it so hard, I felt something go in my knuckle. Now, he knew I was ill. He knew that my hands were swollen, and I shouldn't have allowed him to shake my hand, but I did. And, it was just sad because my finger was swollen about 3 times the size for 3 years. And finally, nothing the rheumatologist did worked, And so I was essentially assaulted that day at my business. That was not good. And so we tried not to do business with that guy anymore. We kept it really to a minimum. The worst part, he was in his 60s. He's like 65 or 66 when he did this to me. I was like, my God, really? You got to hurt me. So now I just have, when the swelling finally went down after 3 years, I were nodules all over the knuckle. And the doctor tried to deal with those, but it just didn't help. And so I just have a deformed finger now, and I can't really close it. So it makes making a fist, so doing martial arts is hard with that hand. It's hard to punch with that hand because of this knuckle. See, because I can't really make a fist. See, it does that. So, and I'm right-handed. So thank you to him for this. So, Fehu. Fehu is the first rune of the Elder Futhark. It's known as the sending rune. So, if you want to send magic, send intention, you can chant Fehu. It's kind of like the beginning of, in a way it's the beginning of all things, but in a way it's not, because you've got Uru's the next one, which is the forming force. So not what forms, but the force behind the forming of it. So, and Fehu was always known, it's a fire element rune. It can also be, I've also seen it written described as an earth element rune. Typically it means cattle or wealth. Back in the olden days, what you possessed, cattle itself was movable wealth. It could move about. And so you could take your wealth wherever you needed to take it. So it was like an example of your creation or your energy in a way. It's a positive rune. It encourages growth. It advances projects. It achieves success. It's a productive, energetic type of a rune. It could be, with respect to this, that maybe our wealth, our assets are taken from us, and we need to maybe be conscious of that. Maybe we're letting things slip through our fingers today. If we're going to look at this in terms of wealth, if you're looking at Fehu in terms of cattle or wealth, then maybe somebody's taking that from us today, and we need to be conscious of that. It does increase the positive. Like if you were to put this instead of like a bind rune, sometimes you can do like a runic script, which could be a series of runes, which you can then put into a bind rune. But the idea behind that, at least the way I use it, is that if you had, like, say, a series of runes, you could build them. You could put in a Fehu was the first one, for example. And then the ones that come after that, then Fehu is going to send that energy, right? So it's a really useful thing in rune magic. But I'm not sure what it means in terms of this, because this is kind of a negative card. And so are we sending negativity? I don't think so. Let's pull another card. Let's shuffle again. Sometimes in tarot, when we don't have, and I'm glad that this happened, I don't think we want to be sending. I look at Fehu as a sending rune. So we don't want to be sending this kind of thing unless it's the awareness to, focus, get some focus. So, I mean, it could be that, but I don't know. This just doesn't feel like it. So let me shuffle a couple of times here and let's pull another card. Sometimes when you have like a more than one card spread, which is what this is, you might look at that and you see, well, okay, I kind of see where the pattern's going, but let me get some more information on this particular card. So you might pull one or two cards just to explain one card. I have a six card spread I've done, and I'm going to write it up today on the blog. And it's with using the Heindel Tarot deck, which he uses. His is a really cool deck. It's non-traditional, and it's just nice. I like it. It uses I Ching hexagrams and runes and whatnot are in the cards, so it gives you a lot of information. So, but what my point is that there may be one card where I don't really know, so I might pull some extra cards to get some more clarification on that one. So let's just pull one more card. $13. Well, so the Eight of Swords. You see how the swords are. See, this is about focus. Okay, where are we sending our focus today? See how it helps to pull another card. All right. This is amazing. This is an amazing card. You see how she's bound? She's got a blindfold on. She can't see anything. You've got all these swords pointing downward into the earth, they're stuck in the sand. It's really just a soppy, messy place she's found herself. And really it's her own thoughts putting her there. So are we allowing our thoughts to scatter about? Are we allowing, if this is scattered thinking, are we allowing that to happen? And is that what we're sending into the world? Well, I don't know. If that's what's happening today, then maybe we ought to think about not doing that. Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, is a Jupiter day. Let me just double check so I don't have to go according to my feeble memory. Let's look in the grimoire here. But Thursday is Jupiter. So we're already going to deal with, if that's the case, then we're already dealing, we're already dealing with air and, we're dealing with air and fire. Jupiter's listed as both, really. Jupiter is expansive. So whatever expansive energies, it could cause our thoughts to really get out there, and then we don't know what the heck is going on. And but I love this card, this eight of swords, because she's just totally bound herself up. This is self-induced. A lot of these sword cards, you really have to look at them. At least I think you do. It's all what's going on internally. Here's the thing. Everything around us is created by our thought. All right. The mind of God or the mind of source or the mind of the creator is what all of this is. It's a reflection of what the creator is choosing to see and experience. And so if we look at tarot and runes as our own inner experience, which is what I actually prefer to do, I mean, it's not that it can't alert us to outside interference in our lives, because it can. I just think that so much of this is about how we see the world, because how we see the world, someone else may see it completely differently. I mean, you've talked to people like that, haven't you? Where you see something a certain way and they just don't. Well, why is that? You know, is it because you're wrong or they're wrong? Or is it because we're actually coming from two different visions that are equally valid, you know? So the nice part about tarot and runes, or any divination tool, really, it's about yourself. It's about the self as soul that is expressing itself in the world. You know, it is just one great soul of the world, which is the source, right? Is God, is creator, source energy. If source is all that is, which is what I believe the creator is all that is, then everything is the creator. All of us, everything. So this is an inner experience. Not that you're being surrounded by enemies, although it could be, but you've taken your eye off the ball. So that's the explanation to this. This is why everything is so scattered. We've bound ourselves up and we can't see anything that's happening. And so we have to be careful not to send that into the universe today, because today is Thursday and it's an expansive Jupiter day. So let's see if something else. 5 is also, change. It's also a Mars number. So we've got that. We don't want to be expansive on that. So yeah, I think that what this is really telling us today is just that we can't bind ourselves up and we can't let our thoughts scatter. You know, to be successful, you really have to be able to stay focused on what you're doing. And clearly, you know, here, today's card, we have a mess. Nobody knows what's going on. And again, it's swords. So, you know, our thoughts get us into trouble. It's like when you're dealing with, I talk about this in both, I think I'm pretty sure I talked about it in Empath. I wrote that one first. But the most recent book I published is called When Vampires Attack. And what that deals with is vampiric energy and learning to identify different forms of it and the different kind from a psychological perspective. I have a degree in psychology, so naturally, I think in terms of whether or not someone's a sociopath or psychopath or passive aggressive or whatever. And so what I did in that book is I broke everything down into that, and also, you know, empaths when they're vampiric with their energy. And what we can do to deal with all of that. Empaths have a real tough time at times because we tend to see or feel energy coming at us, and then we look and we see and we want to see what's going on. Problem is, when you do that, and that's the whole point of this, is that you create a channel of energy with that, or a connection with that individual or energetic entity or whatever it is that's coming in at you. And so consequently, you have to have a way of dealing with all of it. Some people call that, to deal with it, they call it cutting cords. So instead of a channel, you might look at it as a cord between yourself and someone else, and you figure out a way to cut it, to end that energetic connection. Every single time we look at somebody or think about somebody or engage with somebody, an energetic connection is created. So we think, oh my God, you know, all this is coming in on me. Well, it's true, but we don't have to respond to that energetic tap on the shoulder, right? So one thing you can do is, there's a rune called Laguz, and you can chant Laguz. I put this in the book, to just quietly, you know, center yourself, and then internally just chant Laguz and visualize those chords or those channels, energetic channels dissolving. I like to dissolve them. I don't like to cut them. I like to just watch them just sort of dissolve into the mist, you know, into the ether. And that way, if you're having trouble with scattered thinking, it may not be coming always from you. It may be that you're responding to all this energy coming in at you. If we're all one energy system, basically, if we're all the creator in form, then it makes sense that we're going to pick up on other people's energies. We're energetic beings. We're not these bodies. We're energy. So we're just focusing in to create this form that we take. Well, here, if we're allowing things to be scattered, like in the 5 of Swords, then you're going to have to figure out a way then to go inward, be still, and visualize those things dissolving, and call your thoughts back to you. Laguz is also considered, it's shaped like this. It's just got a little hook at the top and a straight line down. And it's used to cast as like a magical net to bring things back to you. So if you're chanting Laguz, you can bring your thoughts back to you and get them back to where they belong. They don't need to be out there. They don't need to be out there. They need to be right inside here. So this may be telling us today, and also with, the Eight of Swords reinforcing it, that the thoughts are scattered. Bring them back. All righty. Well, I have to go. I have to go and go to the cannabis clinic so I can be legal. So anyway, be mindful of your thoughts. If they start to scatter, go inward, chant Laguz, and bring them, visualize them all coming back to you. They belong to you. They don't need to be out there playing with other people, because it's not always fun. So anyway, have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow, and blessed be.